Good morning. How are you doing this morning? We had our first snowfall last night. Today is October 30, Friday, 2020. Reviewing Hitchens' book, chapters 15, 16, and 17. Is that right? Yeah, chapters 15, 16. I'm gonna talk about chapter 15 at the end. But chapter 16 is titled "Is Religion Child Abuse?" And he talks about mostly Catholic-oriented perceptions and relations towards abortion, circumcision, masturbation, and he details some of the abuse that's been, studied and revealed about the Catholic Church. So it's pretty harsh stuff in that chapter. And one quote he made, he said, "Nothing proves the man-made character of religion as obviously as the sick mind that designed hell." That's a pretty harsh statement he makes. At chapter 17, I'm not going to go into the details because of 16. I'm not going to go into the details further than that. You get the idea. Chapter 17, he talks about how instances throughout history where the established church, most often the Catholic Church, has either cooperated, endorsed, or turned a blind eye to less than upright government power structures or government individuals, and cooperating with dictators and nefarious political groups or individuals. So he goes through that. It's pretty harsh, and he talks. Chapter 17 has an interesting discussion while he talks. He describes about his visit to North Korea, and he makes a statement. He says, I used to wonder what it would be like to have to sing everlasting praises, and now I know." Because when he went to North Korea, it was a total the idea of worshiping the supreme leader was completely and totally pervasive throughout the culture, throughout the media, throughout individual people's homes, everywhere. The whole place was totally engrossed with the worship of the supreme leader and the previous supreme leader, the guy who's already dead, and they still worship him as divine beings. And it's pretty harsh, right? It's pretty. It's hard to get through this stuff, and I think I got through it because of being prepared at the right time in my life to be able to see it and to survive the cynicism and whatnot. But it's a very eye-opening chapter. So getting back to chapter 15, it's called "Religion as an Original Sin," and he talks about why he thinks that it's not compatible with having a sound mind. But the account from Genesis compatible with Big Bang Theory, I don't see anything. The people that mark the date of Genesis 1:1 as 4004 BC, that's not part of the scripture. That's just man's interpretation. So a lot of people say, "Oh, that's what the scripture says as the time frame for the beginning of the earth," and it isn't. So anyway, we can skip that. Sorry, I'm gonna have a sip of coffee here. My throat is a little sore this morning. Too much talking last night, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. I'd like to read though the in chapter 15. It's interesting because Dawkins himself answered the same question when what was his name? The fellow asked him, "What would you say to God if you met God?" And Dawkins said, "Why did you?" He requoted somebody else and said, "Why did it make yourself so hard to find?" And that was his comment. In this case, Hitchens quotes Bertrand Russell saying, "What would you say if you had to talk to God?" Bertrand Russell said, "I should say, oh God, you did not give us enough evidence." And he says, "Us." I would say to Bertrand Russell, "Speak for yourself." I see. Oh wow, a cardinal just landed in front of me. I see evidence every day. Every day I see evidence. Anyway, that's Bertrand Russell. But his own reply, Hitchens, this is Hitchens' answer to God if he had to answer the question, what would you say if you met God? And he says, "Imponderable Sir." This is Hitchens if he were to speak to God. I hope I prefaced it properly for you. He says, "Imponderable Sir, I presume from some, if not all, of your many reputations, that you might prefer honest and convinced unbelief to the hypocritical and self-interested affectation of faith or the smoking tributes of bloody altars." Let me read that again. He says, "Imponderable Sir, I presume from some, if not all, of your many reputations, that you might prefer honest and convinced unbelief to the hypocritical and self-interested affectation of faith or the smoking tributes of bloody altars." So he's stubborn in his unbelief. Now there is a scripture from John's Revelation saying, God is speaking and he's saying, I wish you were either cold or hot. If you're not cold or hot, I'll just spit you out of my mouth if you're lukewarm. So obviously Hitchens in this case is cold, and so it could be true that God prefers that. He prefers his coldness in the integrity of his heart. However, he's basically paraphrasing the parable that says, you know the one, the parables of the talents, when he takes his talent, and the parable of the talents, the guy says, oh Lord, I know you are an austere man, reaping where you don't sow, and I know that you're very severe in your evaluation, and so here's your talent. I buried it, and I'm returning it to you now. It's kind of like, it's almost like a paraphrase of that. And so it didn't end well for that guy. He says, by your own words, I'm going to judge you. And so there goes the garbage truck going by Friday morning. And so in this case, Hitchens didn't bury his talent by any means. He certainly wrote down and produced his theology, his atheism as strongly as he could. However, answering the question publicly and putting it in his book of what he would say to God is an endorsement of a belief in God itself, right? And so it contradicts the previous 18 chapters. If you spend 18 chapters talking about the horror of human existence and the pain and the sorrow and all the shit that the guy's been through in his life, no wonder he tried to dull the pain with alcohol and what have you. But at the end of it all, when he's faced with the question, what would you say to God? He answers the question. If everything that he had said previously he honestly felt in his heart, he would refuse to answer the question. And so he answers the question. He accepts the question. In other words, everything that he said in his book is, for want of a better phrase, attention grabbing. He's saying, God, look what I can do. God, look, I've gone through all this shit in my life, so now I'm going to dump on you and tell you that I don't believe in you because of all the horrific examples of Christians that I've seen, all the horrific examples of man's inhumanity, the man that I've seen. Therefore, I'm going to spit in your eye and not believe in you and write about it and say how wicked uh, the beliefs in you have caused people to behave, is his argument, right? His argument is that the belief in God in all its various forms causes humanity to act badly, when in fact he's got the cart before the horse. Humans act badly and they try and use religion as a band-aid. I think that's pretty clear from his own words. And he's answering the question. He's saying, well, God, I think you prefer somebody who's got genuine disbelief rather than, as I mentioned already, the smoking and bloody altars and all that kind of stuff, which again was the human's interpretation of how to speak to God, how to access God. So that's that. I got 2 chapters left. I'm going to be so glad to finish this book. It is a torture to read. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody unless you really want to get inside the mind of a hardcore atheist, I suppose, which is valuable. Build empathy. Um, put yourself in the shoes of somebody who wants nothing to do with religion, and you get an understanding of that perspective from somebody who's pretty much seen it all. So that's it. A little bit depressing, but thank you so much for watching. God bless you. I love you. I hope you have a wonderful day. One more video to go on this book and I should be done. Maximum 2 videos left. I got 2 chapters left, and probably maybe an epilogue and afterward or something like that, and then maybe a summary. So probably only 1 or 2 videos left on this. Thanks for watching. God bless you. Take care now. Bye-bye.